Matt snuck in, right? Matt, right? Okay. Okay, so Emily, and Evan, who did the extra credit lecture series thing. Emily, and Evan, who did it? Why didn't you email me? Oh, email me if you didn't. No, Mark just didn't send a list like he claimed, so Professor Schill. So what I decided the extra credit is gonna be is just you pick 10 points to add to one of your homeworks. So Gizzy Nick will probably pick the rough draft. Okay, so that's what I want to start with. The rough draft. So on this blog, I have linked in the first folder. You have project help and proposal examples. I was kind of hoping you'd look at both. You did? Damn it.
I'm really like run out somewhere, so look for somewhere.
Okay, so that's why I gave you like a personal example of myself. So we'll go through this. I think Emily's was like, is that you emailing me? Okay. I think Emily there had the best intro. Basically, all you're doing, introducing yourself, introducing what you're doing for who, even if it's John Doe. And then basically just giving some contact information for yourself. The idea of the proposal is this is the contract. If you were making this website for a real person, this is what you would hand them before they said, okay, yeah, I'll agree to these terms. You can make this for me. Does that aspect of that make sense? Okay, good. I think for the most part, you all did pretty good with that. Now, the problem was a problem for most of you. You have to explain some kind of problem. So what does the second paragraph there say, Mark?
Section 2, Joan and John were emailed every time an order was placed and sent the orders out to UPS on that.
See how one sentence tells the problem, and then there's other crap about what the website is? It's all your problem needs to be. One sentence explaining what the problem is. So who can look at that and tell me what this problem is? Matt. Okay, what do I say in the first paragraph?
The issue of nursery was limited to the items they could bring with them.
Okay. Rob, got it? Then your solution has to match the problem, Kyle. Just in general. I like shouting the name Kyle because I think it was South Park, they used to do that when I used to watch 20 years ago. They constantly shouted Kyle. Okay. So your solution should match your problem. So the issue some of you I saw had was you only had the first paragraph. Like what your website is going to have. You didn't have the second paragraph, your actual solution. So how is your website going to solve the problem? It should be pretty clear. Even though I kind of mentioned limitations here and, you know, sometimes it's cold out in New Jersey and people can't dig plants out of the ground, so they have to have them in a greenhouse. There's more expenses with that and so on and so forth. So does that make sense? Solution solves the problem. That's why problem goes before solution. Make sense? Okay. So I want to say 99% of you had no issues with deliverables. I might have just made comments like, oh, no images, no videos, no CSS. Process and cost are two separate things. So Mark, what's a process? Yeah. So some of you had it set up with like a table. Were you one of the table ones, Gizzy, Nick? Did you do a table for the last part? No, the process. Somebody did a table for it. It was like, this is the day I'm going to start. This is when I'm going to do this. This is when I'm going to do that. Was it any of you that are here? No, 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 no. So yeah, the only issue with doing that is they left end date blank. I just kind of put a question mark in their little comment. But basically this second paragraph here is all you'd have to do for process. What are you doing? How are you doing? It doesn't necessarily matter when you're doing it because you're doing it before the semester ends. That's your project, making this website. So then the cost basically is that first paragraph and the last paragraph. Consider how much it's going to cost you to make this. I think, Patrick, you're doing your own like personal site, right? So when you, and I put this comment in yours, if you're doing something for yourself, you kind of have to explain why you're going to charge. That makes sense? Like, why are you charging yourself for labor? You need money? You're going to charge yourself, what was it, 30 bucks an hour? 20 bucks an hour? Okay. So the other things, maintenance. Are you going to charge whoever you're doing your site for to update this thing? Hosting. Are you just putting it on courses? Are you using the free Wix? Are you going to use the blog for Seton Hall? Or are you going to go buy an actual domain on GoDaddy and then pay extra for hosting? Security. Mention all that stuff as potential costs. Was it you, Emily? Somebody, or was it Softball Star? Somebody said they were doing a logo for theirs. Was that you, Softball Star? Is she there?
No, it's not me.
No, it wasn't you. Well, somebody
No.
said something in their proposal that they weren't sure if the person wanted a logo or not. That might have been yours.
And Nick feels comfortable writing a logo, she would with her to guide me with it on the website.
Okay, well, if you're gonna do something like that, a logo or make like a video, you want to include any potential cost with that too. So yours was the one you're like doing a hub of all your media stuff. So if you had to create like a logo, you probably already have one, right? But if you wanted to create one, you'd have to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna go pay Damon $500 to make me a logo. You'd have to list that in your cost section. Right, Damon? That's your charge? Are you even good at graphics? No? What? You're also the marketing person for Beta because Damon can't do graphics? That's what Gizzy Nick says. Is Emily in that too? Yeah, what does she do? She's not on the what? E-board? See, e-board means something different to old people like me. It was like what Blackboard was 20 years ago. So, yeah, with the proposal, you see here the criteria for the final draft is in this folder. What do you notice, Gizzy Nick? Got to keep you awake. How are you blind? How can you see tens? There's only one 10. Phil, help. 4 of them are now out of 35. They're 25 points more for 4. What stays the same, Mike Swipe? What? Just look. The intro stays the same. We couldn't find the file you wanted. Okay. Yeah, so the intro stays the same. Why, Emily? That Emily. Why does the intro point stay the same? It's the easiest part. You don't really, yeah, like it's just like yours is already pretty good. You just, I think you did, what did you get on it? 10 out of 10? So I think your only comment was like, really? Is that actually his name? What does this do, Gizzy Nick? Damn it, Gizzy Nick. November 13th. 2 weeks from yesterday. More than enough time to fix it up to earn all 150 points. Not email me. Why didn't I get this score? How come I lost points there? Right? And how much percentage is it worth, Gizzy Nick? Of course it says. It's on the syllabus. Damn it, Gizzy Nick. Proposal. 10%, twice as much as the homeworks. Good. So what are we learning tonight, Dom? Okay. What did I tell you about XHTML, Kyle? Don't kill Kenny? Don't recall. Damon, what did I tell you? Did? Bill, what did I say? It's the strict HTML. HTML, you kind of screw up, it'll be like, oh, hey, I sort of kind of understand what you're saying. So John, what languages do you understand? Just English? Yeah, okay. So like if Kyle speaks to you in English, you sort of have an idea what he's talking about, right? Rob, do you speak anything other than English? No? Emily, do you speak anything other than English? Little Spanish? Damon, what about you? No? Barely French? Patrick, what do you speak? English? No, nothing. Lucas, what do you speak? Just English. Pat, do you speak anything extra? No? Billy? No, not even like Klingon or anything? No? Robert, do you speak anything extra? No? Does anybody? Nico, no? Mike, do you speak Italian? Nothing but English. To some degree. So let's say I try to communicate with John in my basic understanding of Mandarin. Are you going to have any clue what I'm talking about? What I need? No wonder I didn't know it. Was that on the fortune cookie? Okay. Where was I? Oh, right. So the point would be that XHTML would be, communicating in two different languages and not really understanding. And that's what the browser would do. It wouldn't understand you. So like when Emily asks questions about what classes I'm teaching in the spring, and I try to ask Dr. Rosenthal, and it's basically the same thing. He doesn't seem to understand. Emily, what's XHTML stand for? Very good. What does that mean? It works better with data like XML and JSON. That's why we're talking about all of them together tonight. But like I said, it's the more stricter HTML. Right? I've said that a couple times. What is it defined as, Gizzy Nick? Yeah, what is it defined as? No, the third bullet.
Defined as
It's defined as XML application. What's XML, Damon? Did Billy teach you any of the things of data storage? No. No. We just kind of showed up and he just told us about C++. Even though the old man at the front of this room hasn't used C++ since 2004, because that's probably the last time it was in service. Well, technically they use C# for a lot of database programs. But now a lot of those have been replaced with R. You guys said Viswa teaches you that, right? Who sucks? What class? The hard class?
R.
Oh, R class. Billy. Why was XHTML developed? Who had 2701? What? The class I taught, Gizzy, Nick, Patrick, Mike and wife, Rob, and Billy. The one where you're supposed to learn Excel and Access? No, that's why it's what you guys SQL, remember? Why not? I didn't? I must have had one section, one class meeting on SQL. That was it?
It was just a-
I didn't teach you guys SQL? I don't believe you. I didn't teach SQL in that? So am I. Now who's in there?
Oh, you did it?
See,
But we didn't like have homework.
you didn't have homework on a few things in this class. What meeting was it? The 24th?
First meeting,
This one?
so 4 years ago today.
SQL, PowerPoint, and HW8 starter kit? There's a homework? That must have been in class then. Starter kit. So who remembers Access then? Do you remember what data was in Access? No? Kyle, do you remember? Yeah, what data is in Access? What data? Do you remember, Patrick? What do they make corn in? Where do they grow corn? Fields. Fields were what the data inside Access was called. What's the data put inside of an Excel, Patrick? Cells. So with XHTML, it's XML and JSON, which we'll talk about momentarily. They can import data from them. The same way Access, you can import data from Excel. What do you notice differently here that makes it strict? Nobody? Everything's now mandatory. So some of you had like a, Rob, were you one of the ones that had like a div issue with the drop down? And it still came up and looked just weird? XHTML, it won't even come up. It's like, yep, Rob screwed up too few divs. We're not gonna load this. Elements must always be properly nested and be closed. They need to be in lowercase. Attribute names must always be in lowercase. Values must always be quoted. In regular HTML, don't care. The web browser is just going to try and interpret what you did. Which one's better, Patrick, you think? For you guys? Do you want to use HTML, which is not strict and will load even if you screw up? HTML for, you know, what would you call your guys? Novices? Would you say you're novices or beginners with this stuff? So here's some example code. What do we notice? Kyle, what's the difference here? Right. I'll give you a hint. They're all in the first three lines, the two things I'm thinking of. The third line is the HTML tag. Two new things in the first three lines. Mark?
Usually the doc-
Yep. Doc type now has to be specific to what you're doing. Has to include as well what language you want it to be in. Whereas in regular HTML, we can kind of bounce back and forth as we choose. What about the third line? What's added there? John? And what's before it? XML-NS. See the difference between that and a regular HTML tag? We're importing data from an XML file. Next slide. What do you see, Gizzy Nick? You see doc type XML NS? Is that there? I see skies of blue. You see this stuff, right? This is just regular HTML. Don't have to do anything fancy. Just throw the code as you need in between the headers and bodies. As we've seen, what is today, the 8th class? So, who needs to join us? Garfield, why is XHTML important? Yep. So those restrictions can actually make your website look better to some degree. But, you know, like we said, you guys are novices and beginners, not expecting you guys to write all your code in XHTML. This is just kind of like every other class. Give you some basic info so you can, you know, have some understanding. Kyle, you remember when we talked about document object model? Vaguely, I suppose. DOM, you don't remember me mentioning that? Now I'm starting to worry if you guys are serious about what Billy did, because you can't remember 2 weeks ago. So there's also XML document object model. Billy didn't teach you guys trees in programming, right? Trees are an object-oriented programming tool that allows you to show information as like a dropdown. What about Rosenthal? Did he teach this in Python? No, no trees in Python? Did you have them? No, who'd you have for Python? No, why not? You just take classes you like? Fair enough. Once you get the hang of XHTML, you know, if let's say softball star, that's what her independent study she wanted to do was on, like advanced version of this class, you know, you might get more experience using HTML and, oh, I'm gonna do XHTML now. It makes it smoother and easier to edit because you now know where everything is. Whereas HTML, we're just kind of throwing everything into the header or the body. XML basics, Damon. What's XML stand for? So is XML strict? No? How do you know? Are you guessing or telling? Guessing? So explain why you're guessing your answer. This isn't like Billy's class. I'm not gonna just let you sit here and stare into space while he rambles about nothing. I'm gonna show you how to make a web browser. Even though this is Python. Well, the other one's extensible too, but it's strict. This is where you store data for the most part. So it doesn't really matter as long as you use the actual codes or tags, if you will. We'll wait. You texting your father about how horrible this class is again? No? Texting your hot date tonight you got? No? What's so funny? You don't know. So we've done tags in HTML, right? Head, body, script for JavaScript, style for cascading style sheets, right? XML is similar. What are some interesting notes, Billy? Does that make sense? What do you use as a text editor? Like Word, Notepad? So does Word do anything? Does Word do anything? What does it do? Okay. What about you, Kyle? Where do you put your words? Microsoft Word? Does it do anything? Okay. How does it format? And change colors and everything? So XHTML or XML, you just basically throw in a notepad file. So there's no, you spelled this wrong, I'm going to correct it. It's just info thrown in a file for you. So it technically doesn't do anything. Who are you texting? Then why is your phone in front of you at all times? You're an important person. Ditto. My phone's over here. Oh. Mike, tell us about how XML just stores data. So who remembers parent-child? Kyle, who's your parents? Mom and dad? And you're the child, right? So Who would be your parents if you were HTML? XML. Why? Do you know your computer history? Billy didn't teach you this? XML existed before HTML. You know, you all grew up with computers. Things like web browsers and stuff like this 25 years ago didn't exist. What are the rules? Rob, give us some rules. You take the first two, and then Nico will take the other two. Okay. So what does that mean? Here we go. Writing in XML. XML attributes must be quoted as such. Employee type equals, how many quotes is that? 2? Yeah. It's a single quote on each side. Not a double quote on each side, a single quote on each side. So we have here employee type permanent. What other employee types are there? Damon? Temporary, okay. Mike's wife, what could be another employment type? We said permanent up here. Damon said temporary. What could be another type of employment? What if you work for yourself? What's that called? Self-employed? What could be another one, Dom? Not employed? Kyle? What? Seasonal, okay. What's a similar one to seasonal? How many hours a week do you work, Kyle? 0? What if you work 20? What would that be considered? Part-time? Very good. So the other way, this is the way we'll do it tonight. You could do employee type permanent. See how they're inside tags? As I put Emily to sleep. Both of them do the same thing. Either or works. But the second one is usually, you know, how people do it and how it will pop up on the tree. What's the difference? Mark, what's the difference? XML and HTML. So let's use Gizzy Next costume here as an example. What would the HTML be here? What would the HTML be here? Yeah, the costume itself. What would the XML be? What data is Gizzy Nick trying to get across? She's a Devils fan. That would be the XML. The one major difference is you could basically make up any XML tags you want as long as you follow these 4 rules. HTML, for the most part, unless you're doing class inheritance, I think I showed you a couple times with the dot and the name of the class. For the most part, HTML tags are already defined for you. Head, HTML, body, div, etc. What would you name an XML tag if you were trying to do the list of Devils players? Okay, you'd name it roster. And what would you have as tags inside? Okay, so you wouldn't break it up as like name, jersey number. You just do it by position? Okay. What's with the laughing?
You're staring at me. Am I not answering it right?
I said, okay. Patrick, you a Devils fan? So how would you set up the Rangers roster? Yeah, would you do it by position like Gizzy Nick? Who understands hockey like Gizzy Nick? Nobody? Billy, how would you set up the Rangers roster? Would you do it her way? By position? Okay. So what is the point of that? Why did I differentiate between the way they both would set it up? Any guesses? You could set up XML any way you want as long as you follow those 4 rules. They could do the same exact quote unquote thing and do it 2 completely different ways in XML. What about football? Do we have more football fans than hockey fans? Kyle, you're shaking your head. Yes. What football team? Okay. How would you set up a Giants roster in XML? Number, position, name. Okay. And those would all be your tags inside of like a roster tag. Damon, what team do you go for in football? Falcons. How would you set up yours? Guys we might keep for next year. Guys we're going to trade by tomorrow. Rob might have set up his Eagles team by Pro Bowlers, right? Probably Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, some of the offensive linemen, and then everybody else. That are going to be on the Pro Bowl? Maybe in the secondary. There's too many defensive linemen for your guys to get on the Pro Bowl. Yeah, but they have like 9 defensive linemen they rotate. Oh yeah, you're a Cowgirls fan. Your Micah Parsons actually helped me. Because I've been streaming defenses in fantasy, I was like, yep, the Bears can't try 2 weeks in a row. And picked up the Cowgirls defense. And thankfully, Justin Fields is an idiot, allowing Micah Parsons to run in the end zone by jumping over him instead of, touching him down. So I got 8 points from the Cowgirls defense. The worst performer on my team this week. So why do we use XML, Matt? Yeah, we could just throw all this in a notepad file. We don't have to do anything special. We don't have to make the text yellow or red or purple. We don't have to make comments. Why else? Damon, why else do we want to use XML? Okay. What else? Yeah, most of this stuff you have to make it a little different for it to work on a mobile device. Like I showed you guys with the Monmouth University, like directory thing where if you looked at it on an iPhone and tried to click somebody's profile, it, had you call them. XML can be basically opened anywhere. Gizzy Nick, you've probably are gonna go home and do some of these things. What are some ways we could use XML? I see you as going home and using XML to like make a list of all your textbooks you need for the spring. Right? Okay. How many? 4 or 5?
8.
You have 8 textbooks this semester? Oh. So you prefer classes like mine that you don't require books, right? And don't have to spend money? Does Rosendahl make you use a book in Python? Who had them for Python? No? What about Billy? Did he make you buy a book? Did he give you like any, like I give you slides and stuff? Did he give you any? He just said, go to BurnTube or go to Burn University. Rosendahl, yeah, he's like me. Records what he says and then throws it up on Blackboard, and that's true. He uses the same ones from 7 years ago. So here's some example XML code, which we probably won't do all of this, but we have a prologue. What's a prologue? Mike's wife, what's a prologue? Programming language? Is that your guess? Why is that your guess? That's what it says? She's not wrong. That's what Google says. What? That's what it means. It's just an introduction that's separate from the other stuff we're doing. But in computing, we like to save space and, what's a root? Kyle, do you grow like radishes or anything? No? You're not a farmer? David, you're shaking your head like, yeah, I grow radishes. Do you grow anything? No? John, do you grow anything? No? That's better than nothing. Rob, do you grow anything? No? Dom? No? Your uncle has a farm? So you know what roots are? What are roots? Part of the plant that it grows from. The roots are kind of stuck in the ground. They suck up all the water from the dirt. So what are they in a computer? Tom? Yeah, it's your kind of starting point. Like, what's this here, Gizzy Nick? This PCE downloads. What is that called? A what directory? A what directory? A root directory. That could technically be our starting point. That would be our first tag, our note. What goes inside our note? Damon, what goes inside our note? What goes inside our note, Damon? Yeah. We have 4 separate tags inside of our note XML. Who we're sending it to, where's it from, the heading, the body. So basically you could set up an XML file and it does the same thing as an email. So Damon wants to send Billy an email complaining about how he didn't learn any Python and he's upset that he didn't grade his homeworks. So what would the to be, Damon? Billy Byrne, okay? What would the from be? Damon, or maybe disgruntled young scholar? What would the heading be? Class? But you're not in his class anymore. And he didn't even know who you and Kyle were. Why is that funny? It's sad. Right, Mike's wife? Isn't it sad that Billy Byrne didn't remember them? And he just had them in the spring? And I remembered you and Mike from 3 years ago. Did he make you do an intro post? Maybe that was the issue. In 2701, I make them do intro posts. He wasn't too interested in learning about you? Well, I'm the complete opposite. As Rob can attest you, I'll see you on campus in a year if you're still here and you can wave to me, hey, the old man at the front of the room. Hey, how are you? What would the body be? You're a disgusting toad. You didn't teach us Python? What would the body be? I would strongly recommend you actually teach Python in the Python class. Somehow he got all bad reviews for 2701. It's like you taught that for 25 years at Monmouth. It's the same class as IT 150. Billy, what do you notice? What is the last bullet? What do you notice? Yep. So we started note at the top and then we put everything inside, but on the same line, we closed it. Then we got to close the note to close out our full note. Matt? XML, we make up our own tags as we choose. So note is our entire thing, and to, from, heading, body are what we made up to put inside the note. You can also use HTML tags within XML. So like we've seen bold and italicized, you could put them right inside. So if you wanted to make like your to, from, heading, what did I call it? Body. If you wanted to make all them bold, you could go ahead and do so. What about this example? Gizzy Nick should like this one. It references her, what year did you say you were born? 2001? 2000? So negative 47 years. 47 years before you were born. There was a note sent from Yanni to Tuve. What do you think it said? Don't forget to pick me up. Last example was don't forget to pick me up.
Don't forget me this.
Okay, what might have gone on that weekend? Maybe a Christmas party? Emily, why is 12/18/1953 important? For who? Is that my birthday? Pat's like, are you nuts? You think I'm turning 69 this year? So is Gizzy next though. Why did I use 53? Because I'm 53 years old? Ah, that's why. The Chinese zodiac was snake, Patrick's favorite animal. Right, Patrick? You like those snakes? You like hitting them with golf clubs? Yeah? You get paid extra for that? No. You should get for your website, like Danny DeVito or some of those famous people to like give quotes.
I can see if you would like to endorse our website.
Get them, yeah, get them to like do a video for your page. So if you wanted to use entity references, it would be ampersand and then basically an abbreviation. So for less than, it's ampersand LT semicolon, greater than ampersand GT semicolon, etc. So remember in HTML code, we had ampersand NBSP to show there was like a space in between. Same kind of setup. Comments in XML are different from comments in PHP, JavaScript, Python. How do they look, Kyle? In XML. You said you didn't learn anything in Python, so. It's a hashtag in Python? How is it in XML? Yeah. Pac-Man exclamation point dash dash. Your comment dash dash Pac-Man. What do they actually call those? I forget. Just greater than and less than signs? Okay. I called it a carrot. Sometimes I call it the Pac-Man. So we kind of went over to some degree the XML elements that can contain text, attributes, mix of the above. So like rate could be $19.99. What would that be the rate of? Patrick, do you remember that homework from 3 years ago in 2701? What was the rate of? What the autographed version of the terminal signed by Tom Hanks? You don't remember that assignment? I think that was the third assignment. Inventory practice or whatever it was called. I think it was the third one. Half the class is like, what the hell is this fat guy talking about? That was the third one for your class?
Assignment grade.
Maybe it was two. It was the one we calculated inventory costs, like COGS and CAGs. No, that wasn't. Might have been. Mr. Milligan, that's it. But I gave you a version of that. And it had the Tom Hanks autographed version of the Terminal DVD, the autographed Elon Musk Tesla, and a bunch of other weird stuff. Dom, remind us what the naming rules are here. So if we made an XML tag named Rob, would that work? Yep. We named it Kyle, would it work? What if we named it Boobop Shaboopaboo? Would that work? Yep. What if we named it XML? Would that work? What if we named it Phil? Would that work? What if we named it XML? Would that work? No. Basically any word except XML. So we could do some of the ones we've done before, like first name, last name, book title, the title of the book. You could put an underscore in between the words to differentiate. You could leave a space. You can even use non-English letters. I think those are all Spanish. EOA with the, what do they call that, Billy? Not tilde. What's the thing go on top of the Spanish letters? Yeah, accent. What's an X-link, Gizzy Nick? What's an X-link? Did Billy teach you this? X-link? No? He didn't teach you Python, and I'm expecting him to teach you XML. An X-link is how you'd put links in XML. You'd use this homepage tag that we have set up here and link. We have 2 home pages put in there. See these 2 here? We have homepage put in there, and our XML is called home pages. Where else can you use XML, Emily? She's so bored, she's not even on the right slide. Very good. See why we did all that first? Or getting into the boringness of XML? What's XL? XSLT, Damon. What did you learn about style sheets? What HTML, CSS, JavaScript? What is it? CSS. Ties into XSLT. See the bottom there? XML dash style sheet type. Who remembers that from our external CSS codes? So what would this do? Kyle, what do you think this would do? And now make our XML look, whether we had it set up green text on a purple background. Mike, what's your favorite color? So we have blue text on, let's say, pink background. So here's another XML example. What is this XML called? What is it? Address book. But what do we have inside the address book? We have 2 addresses. And what do they include? Name and email. Whose names and emails are here? Damon, this will be an easy one for you. Whose names and emails are here? The first one is the guy I took this course from, Mark Nazaro. And everybody's favorite professor, apparently, Dr. David Rosenthal. He might be 69, actually. I can't believe that Pat thought I was 69. Do I really look that old? It's better than the idiot kids in the town I live with when I walk through the park that shout Lester at me. Do I really look like that, Toad? No? From, I think it's what, Grand Theft Auto? I was gonna wear a name tag on today that just said Lester, but I didn't think anybody would get it. Okay, so another way to store data is called JSON. Robert, what's JSON stand for? Who remembers JavaScript from 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago? What does JavaScript help us do? Alter data? We could technically use like programming methodology that apparently you guys weren't taught inside of a web browser or HTML file, if you will. Were you taught parse or stringify in Python? What did you do with strings? So you just combine them? Okay. What did Rosenthal teach you with strings? Okay. So Matt, tell us what parsing is, since you just told us. Okay. So Kyle, can I use you as an example and don't complain when I use certain words? Okay. So this could be a sentence. What can we use to get certain words out of this? We could parse this and just, pull it out and say Kyle is a dope. Or we could use parse and just say Billy does not remember him, right? So you could technically turn this into multiple different sentences. Emily, what would you want to pull out of this? Yeah, use parse. What do you want to take out of this sentence? Okay. Kyle might want to take out of it, Billy is a dope. Damon, what would you want to take out of this? Kyle does not remember him, okay? Kyle wishes, right? Or maybe Kyle does not remember Billy. That could be something else you parse out of it. Does everybody see what parse means? Rob, give us a sentence that's basically like this, where it's multiple things thrown at once. Well, use something stupid like from 2701. Like Magic sang and what was the other kid's name? You don't remember Magic? Wasn't that his nickname, Magic? Were you in the earlier class or the later class? Okay, so he was probably in the later class. And Patrick was in the earlier class with you, Rob? Yeah. So think of like examples from that, like Talir would always shout random stuff. Oh, I know one he would always shout. Okay, add on to that, Rob. Like add a second part to that sentence. It doesn't have to be but. It could be any random second part of the sentence. But get it from someone else. Okay? Mike's wife, what would you take out of this? Get it from someone else, okay? Be parsed out of this string. What would you take out, Phil? Catch me on someone else. Is that something that happens a lot on campus? People catch you on someone else? Is this a Deshaun Watson situation? We gotta now worry about Phil. Oh boy. Oh my. Pat, what would you take out? Catch me, okay? Gizzy Nick, what would you take out? Can you see it now? Big, right? Okay, what word do you want to take out? Snap, okay. Gizzy Nick is a fan of, what's it called? Krispies. What are they called? Rice Krispies. Snap, crackle, pop. What would you take out, Matt? Get someone else butt? That's almost as weird as Phil's. At least it doesn't say gets or get someone else's butt. So that basically gives you a general overview of parse, right? Mike's wife, what do you think stringify does? That's concatenate. I taught you that. Didn't I teach you that in Excel? You had cell number, ampersand, cell number, ampersand, cell number. Too long ago, right? What does it say stringify does? Right. So what's Kyle? Are you a robot or a person? Person? So is person a string or a number, an integer, a Boolean? What is it? A person would be a string in this scenario. So Gizzy Nick is a short name, right? Would that be a string? Yeah. Patrick, what's something that's not a string? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Nobody knows German? That's German for 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Austin, you haven't participated yet. If we had the 1, 2, 3, what would we use to change that into a string? We'd put it inside the stringify, right? So we'd change it from whatever we had it set up as, an integer, a float, into a string. Same thing can be done from within a file or an object. What kind of objects do you have saved on your computer, Gizzy Nick? Objects. .3D objects? Those are links, not objects. Objects, files. Like, are you like Patrick? You still have my work from 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Really?
I save them.
Rob, are you the same? Or that's long gone? Robert, Nico, do you have anything from the spring? The Rosenthal videos, you like to listen to him talk? Or the actual assignments? What about you, Patrick? Do you still have that from the spring, the assignments? Everything? Gizzy Nick's got like files of every class with 18 different files inside. This was the homework from week 1. This is week 2, 3, 4, right? What is that? We just showed you. XML. The same setup. So how is XML similar to JSON? What's human readable mean, Emily? Are you a human? Can you read? So what does this mean? Humans can read it and interpret it, right? So when we had those examples with the addresses, with the emails, right? You understood it, right? You understood, hey, that's a name I recognize. And Damon's like, no, the other one, I don't know who that is. See, where'd that guy come from? What's hierarchical mean? Did Billy teach you hierarchy? Yeah. Did he show you what happens in Python when you like rewrite over a value? No? Do you guys remember that from 3727 with VBA? Where if you put a line in like this variable equals X, and then the next line you put it equals Y, what happens? You don't remember? Goes in order, a hierarchy. So if you did little too far, we could try. So do like variable X equals 472. No, variable X. VAR X. No, VAR X. VAR space X equals, what did I say, 407? Or 72? Okay, So now the next line, right, var x equals. Come up with a number. Everybody's got a dirty mind to them. So now it's print, just print in Python, right? So do print x. What number comes out, Emily? Very good. That's hierarchy. Our second version of var x. No, you just throw it in the bucket. Our second overwrites the first because of hierarchy. When you build something, what happens? Kyle, you ever build a house? What's the bottom of a house called? The foundation. What goes on the foundation? What goes on the foundation? The house. What goes on the house? The roof. It's a hierarchy. It's an order of steps that you have to do, right? So why is JSON different? What does it lack? No tags. It's shorter, quicker to read and write. It uses arrays. Did Billy teach you arrays in Python? Did you guys learn arrays with Rosenthal's Python class? Billy wins that one. Billy, who did you have for Python? Yeah, Rosenthal. He didn't teach arrays because you actually finished the class, right? Oh, you're in it now with Patrick and Emily. I thought you had it before. Who's the? Oh God, why didn't you take me? Emily, didn't Emily warn you? You had them that you finished, right? Okay. He must have taken you out and put them in his. Let's just hope he didn't have a dirty mind like Phil. I gotta have her in this class so I can see her every Monday and Wednesday. So here's an example of a JSON object. Kyle, what's a car? Yeah. What is a car? It's a JSON object which has 3 properties describing it. So isn't this the most common way you would describe a car to somebody? Make and model? And if you were really interested in it, you'd mention the price, right? Lucas, what's a car you're interested in? Honda Acura. So what would that be, Gizzy Nick? Which fits where? And how much? You didn't buy it? You just got it? So let's say the price is, how old is it? 2010, okay. 2,500? What car do you drive, Gizzy Nick? A 2019 Jeep Wrangler instead of a 1992 Jeep Sahara? How come? It's nicer. What is a 1992 Jeep Sahara from? Wow. Usually I bring up stuff from 93 and nobody knows what I'm talking about. What? Huh? Who shot who in the what now? Emily, what's your make and model and price for your car? 85, 90,000? You rent? Lease? Inherited? George owns it? That's a new one. George owns it. If every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite must be true. Billy didn't give you a lot of Seinfeld references, huh? He's back at Kruger University. So this is how it looks in XML. And in a few minutes, we'll do a quick in-class exercise on this. How do you think it looks in JSON? I told you it's quicker, shorter to read, right? It's on the next slide, Kyle. So in XML, everything's got to be tags, right? And they got to match. So it's inside the car tag, the make, the model, the price. JSON, so much easier. Just throw it all inside brackets. It's the same exact information, right? Chevrolet Suburban, 60 grand. Right? Yes, no, maybe so. That's the same info, right? The only difference is XML is inside tags, right? But what did you notice about the JSON? What's different about the last line? What's different? The last line of the JSON, what's different from the first two? Numbers don't have to have quotes in JSON, just strings. What kind of data types do we have in JSON, Damon? Did Billy teach you any of these? Did he tell you string? Did he teach you number? Did he teach you objects? Did he teach you arrays? Did he teach you booleans? What's booleans? True, false. Not the little cubes. Those are boolean. Little different, spelled differently. What about null values? Did he teach you that? What's a null value, Lucas? It's not answered on the slide. Who remembers null from Access? No? No? Nick? It's not there. It's missing or it's incomplete. So, Damon, what would Boolean be here for full time? What are the two options? True or false? What option did I give? They are full time here. Why is, what's null there, Mark? So what does that mean? There's no job description listed. So Mark is 41 years old. He changed his address to list my info. That's not even how I spell it. I must have did this quick. He spelled my name butcheredly and gave my email. And what does the array here do, Damon, since you said Billy taught you? What does the array do? It's listing students' names. Manny, Mo, and Jack. I don't think I've ever had a Mo. I might have had a Manny. I think I had like 8 Jacks last fall. So what is this all doing? What would this be in Access, Patrick? Do you remember what we called these? The rows, what would they call? Do you remember Gizzy, Nick? What are the rows called in Access? You remember? Records. So this would just be a record on some guy named Mark, who's 41 years old, who has Manny, Mo, and Jack as students, who gave my contact information, who is full-time, but does not have a description of what job he has full-time. So how do we access values that are in the objects? It's JavaScript object notation. So what are we going to use, Kyle? Java classes, right? So to get first name, last name, and age, we take it from what class? Mike, what class did I name here? MyObj. So MyObj dot first name gives us the first name. Same with last name, same with age. So how many decades ago do you think 34 was? Emily, how many decades ago was I 34? You get an A if you get the right answer. Pat thinks I'm 69, so that might give it away. That would be what, 45 years ago? So, Mark, what is MyObj equals called? What is that? What is that? What is that? The 34 is a value, okay. What is it though? Kyle, Damon, what is it though? Help Mark out here. No, this whole MyObj equals. With what inside of it? And what are we assigning the objects? A value, right? Damon, are you with us or? Yeah? You forgot what they were called? What's it called on the bottom there? Do you remember that? Did Billy teach you that? That's called a for loop. Instead of an if else, it just keeps going as long as something's going on. So in this instance, it would keep going until it spits out first name, last name, and age. So how many times would it run, John? Once? It would run multiple times until it spits out all three things, right? So how many times would it go? 3 times. First time spits out first name, then last name, then age. Then done. So back to parsing. Do we want to go through this again? We already did this basically. You could take out, text from here. We just want our birth date. Anybody here know anybody that was born that day, 12/14/1986? No? Is Gizzy Nick like the oldest person in class? She'll be 22? No. Yeah, 22. Austin's older. John's older. Rob's older. Mark's older. Are you older than 22? We already covered stringify. So here's an example inside HTML. So body onload shows us the information. We've seen, script source equals scripts before. So what is this giving us information on? What is it showing here? It's going to show us our car JSON and our car XML inside the HTML file. So here's how they would look if we had a function show that showed both our JSON and XML code. Was I lying? JSON's shorter, right? Kizzy Nick definitely can't see that. So there, all we're doing is creating a table using our JSON data. And if you ran that, this is how it would look. It would just list our table with these random companies. You could all look at that as you choose. So now we'll do this little in-class example. And then Kizzy Nick can go to her costume party or whatever she's got to do. So create a book list file in both XML and JSON, meaning two different files. One called books.xml and one called books.json. Include in your data storage files the following book info: title of book, author of book, and price of book. So for the XML, refer back to slide 34. For JSON, refer back to slide 35. So what do I have here? Book info. So for XML, we could just do book. And then what do I say to put inside it, Kizzy Nick? Title, author, price. Emily, you strike me as somebody who reads a lot. Title, yeah. Pride and Prejudice. D or J? J. Author? Pete Davidson. Is that what you said? Stone Cold Jane Austen. Yeah, it's been around, I don't know, 80 years maybe. So let's say the price is, $4.99. All right, Gizzy Nick, give us another. All the Way My Life on Ice. All the Way My Life on Ice. And I'm assuming it's a hockey player by the name of Jordan Montgomery. And how much is it? No 99, just 15. Okay. What is that, Damon? XML or JSON? That's what? Very good. So play around with that and do like one or two of them and maybe three if you feel like it. What slide did I say? 35 is JSON? Okay. So how do I put that in JSON, Mark? It's all inside the same book tag. You just repeat title, author, price, title, author, price. So how do they look? Let's see a tree. Assuming this still works. See how it just kind of looks like a tree? With the leaves kind of going down? No, you don't see that? You'll take my word for it? That's always a good call. And then how does JSON look? Like I told you guys. Shorter, easier to read. So let's put this in a JSON. So what would I change make, model, and price to? Title, author, price? So we got two that we're doing, right? 2 books. Okay. So our first was Pride and Prejudice. Stone Cold Jane Austen. Our price was $9.99, $4.99. Bless you. Then for the second one, Gizzy Nick is looking to go all the way on ice. Jordan Tutus. And the price was 15. See the difference? Damon's like, nope. You do? So how do we save these? You have an answer or you're just like making faces? You uploaded it to what? Oh, okay. It's just an in-class exercise, but. So for the XML, you just take that out. That's JSON and do save as. And change all files. And what did I say to call it? Book list? So that would be book list.xml. Just this part. And then the JSON would be what? Booklist.json. Now will we open? No, I don't want to use Edge. Sync. I'll just use Windows Explorer to make it simple and easy. Or maybe not. So we can open our XML file and it'll look like that. And our JSON file will look like that. XML like a tree, kind of everything's going down. What does it say? What's the little error there, Patrick? What does that mean? We need to add some style to it. How do we do that? CSS, there's no CSS. So it just looks boring like this. And then our JSON just looks like that. So it's basically similar to having just a text file on your server, web space, wherever it may be, for you to draw information in from. So that's what the parse is all about. So let's just say we just wanted to take Stone Cold Jane Austen out. We'd parse this, pull that information. Emily, question. Not the title? Sure. Did you forget to close? What about the title close?
Oh, wait, man. I have both of them, but the top one.
Yeah, both of them, but the top one.
But the top, like, no, like, that's the. That's like the.
That's okay. I did that.
Oh,
I saved it as booklist.xml.
mhm.
Open it up in your web browser and see how it looks. Because it technically should look like this little. Now what happens when I click the caret, Kyle? The caret next to book, what happens? It all goes away. What's the ... called? And then we click it, then the leaves come falling down. Make sense? Okay, so we are moments away from the most boring lecture you had all semester, hopefully being over. So the next 2 weeks should be fun. Okay, so next week, WordPress, CMS, social media. What's CMS mean? What'd you say, Kyle? Pat told you to take it away? Thank you, Google. Then the following week, SEO, PPC. What do they mean? Very good. What's PPC? John, you know? Party planning committee. Pay per click. And then the 21st and the 28th, come to class, work on your project, your website. And the 28th, we'll set up your, what day you're going to present. And so we're almost home free. So somebody said they're not going to be here on the 28th, right?
That
Did
would
they-
be,
Oh, okay. Email me like the 20, or tell me the 21st, what day you want to do.
okay, is that the day before? Wait, what, 21st?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll email you the day before.
All right, young scholars, have a good night.
Thank you.